Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project with Lalo and Bob. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. Let's jump right into that weekly dose of things you can disagree with. Take it away, guys.
All right. All right. Yep. We're on. We're here. Welcome to the Thoroughly Wrong Project. It has been a long 2 weeks, my friend.
Has it?
Yeah. I had surgery last week, which
Okay.
was, yeah, damn. I had
Was it
fucking,
like a big procedure?
well, the procedure wasn't big, but the outcome was pretty big. Like, I didn't really tell anybody, but a couple, I guess it was a month and a half ago, maybe a month ago. I went to the doctor and they cut this shit out of me. And then I get this phone call and the doctor's, they're wanting to schedule surgery. And I'm like, surgery for what? And she goes, well, you have skin cancer. And I was like, wait, what? You need to, you
Did
need
they
to,
tell you that beforehand?
yeah, you need to soften that blow a little bit is what you need to do, So I worry for like 3 weeks, like, holy shit, and I'm reading about it and they send me a diagnosis and it's the second most dangerous one and all this shit. So I get it cut out of me on, I guess, last Thursday. Yeah, I got it cut out of me on Wednesday or Thursday, and it came back negative. They got all of it, but they were talking about comprehensive cancer checks and all this shit that might happen. Scared the living fuck out of me, bro. So I'm cancer free today, thank God. But it's been a rough couple months. You don't want to worry about shit like that. Not
No. Yeah. Well, that's good that we got it taken care of.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not like I had a brain tumor or some bullshit like that, but still,
Did they just cut out a chunk of your skin or something?
well, what they do is they brought me in and then they said it's this simple procedure and then I'm in the fucking I'm in this not emergency room but the surgery center and all this stuff and you take off all your clothes and they drape shit on you and they shave and then there's 5 doctors and 10 nurses and I guess and so for something not being serious they certainly did put on a nice show for it, but then it looked like an ice cream scoop, man, and they gouge
Like
you.
a
I
skin
mean,
ice cream scoop?
yeah, and they take this fucking chunk out of you. It's called a Mohs procedure, Mohs. I don't know what the hell
Where
it
was
stands for.
the chunk from?
Where my leg meets my torso, right in the growing area. So it's in a
Oh,
really fucking shitty spot. And but that's the thing they were talking about. That was part of the thing. It came on in less than a year. It was really bad because I go every year to see the dermatologist, and then they fuck. I don't know where I was going, man.
did you go over here to see the dermatologist?
I got up too early. Yeah, well, it was in a really. That's right. It was in a really bad spot. It came on fast, and he
Mm-hmm.
said, "Have I ever been, sunburnt there?" And I'm like, no. That's it's right next to my stuff there, and so they were really kind of worried about it. So I have to go back every 6 months now to the dermatologist. You used to make fun of this dermatologist, and now I'm like, he's like my favorite doctor in the whole world. Can't wait to go back and see him.
No, yeah, that's definitely scary. I think that's one of those things that a lot of people don't think about, even though it's very prevalent, like cancer.
Yeah, yeah,
Most people just have that, oh, it won't be me or it can't be me mentality.
yeah, yeah. But Lalo, I don't have that mentality because you go through your whole life thinking, well, not me, not cancer, not this, not that. But once you get the fuck knocked out of you in that car accident I had, that's one of those things where you see on television where the car's all twisted up and people are getting cut out, people are dead, and you're like, damn, that looks horrible. That'll never happen to me. And then it happens to you. And so when things like that, it changes your perspective on what could possibly happen to you. And you know what? Sky's the limit here. Anything can happen to you. And I'm always, I saw something the other day that said, stop complaining about the things that are happening, bad things happening to you until you're thankful about the good things that happen to you. And that's, that's a good mentality to have. It's like, stop complaining about all the bad things until, when the good things are happening, ask that same question. Well, why me? Why are good things happening to me? And I think it's just a crapshoot, dude. I mean, seriously, I don't think, anybody deserves cancer or, even the worst people, because
I don't know
how is
about
that?
that one.
Yeah, well, the same amount of people who are good get cancer and die as, the assholes. So I don't think it has anything to do with karma, or it's just maybe the way we take care of ourselves. I don't know. But you can take care of yourself as much as you want, and your parachute's still going to fail. That doesn't matter.
Yeah, really, a lot of it has to just do with like bad luck,
Yeah,
or
wrong
good luck.
place, wrong time. Wrong place, wrong time. That's or even not even the wrong place. It's just I don't know, dude. I have fought with that since the turn of the millennia when I had that vicious car accident. I've always thought, what caused that? If I had, and then you go through those long periods of time where you're like, if I just stopped to tie my shoe, or you can't do that because you you would I would have to you would question everything about your life if every single bad thing that happened, if I'd have just stopped for 1 second, if I'd have just stopped to tie my shoe or stopped to adjust my fucking hat, whatever. It's just life. Life happens, and we should I guess we should deal with it. And when you get things like, well, you got cancer, and it's fucking shocking. It really is. It's just as shocking as anything else that bad can happen to you. Like being held up at gunpoint is shocking, but getting that phone call and that lady was like, well, we're going to schedule you for surgery. And I was like, what? Surgery for what? She goes, oh, you have skin cancer. I'm like, holy fuck. So, you scare the shit out of your wife and your kids. You send out that group text message to all your children. Hey, your dad might be dying.
A lot of people always say like life's not fair and stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, I always say like every time I hear that, I tell them like the opposite. I tell them like actually life is fair because it's unfair for everybody.
yeah, yeah,
So in that sense, it's like you said, everybody, you know, most people like have that chance of, just shit, like random shit happening to them,
yeah.
even like on a daily basis. Like
Every day.
daily basis, we're just like surviving the day, you know?
Yeah,
Like most people, even like, I mean, at least like here, like, in your immediate like vicinity, like, you know, oh, they can literally like get in a car accident like any day going to work.
yeah. I know. Backing out of your driveway and some idiot driving 50 miles an hour in your neighborhood's going to kill you. And you don't expect that. You kiss your wife goodbye and you head off to work, and then she gets that fucking fatal phone call or the knock on the door, or, you know, it, it's just, it's just life. And I think, I don't know, I don't want to say we should be prepped for disaster all the time. That's poor mental health, isn't it? Isn't that, don't you think?
What do you mean?
Well, if you're always constantly thinking bad things could happen to me. So I guess I don't think that bad things are going to happen to me, but when they do happen, I kind of shrug it off now. Like, yeah, of course, that's just life. And what are
Yeah,
you
you
going to
definitely
do?
can't live like super paranoid because then at that point, I don't really think you're like living,
Right.
you're kind of just trying to like
Well,
survive every day, but not in a good way.
yeah.
You can't just like bubble up and like hole yourself in your house and stuff like that. So
Well, what do you think? What do you think is a good balance, though, or a good state of mind? Because I don't think there is a balance between when I get up and I'm feeling like something bad's going to happen or something good's going to happen. It, why, is it just this way of like, it's not prepping for a game, like a football game, like I'm going to do my best, or it's just this crazy world we live in where we're so distracted all the time. You get up and you take a shower and you go to work and you're not ever expecting to get that phone call. But when they do come, I think resiliency has to do with when that phone call does come, or that, you know, car accident does happen to you, or, you fall down, break your leg, whatever. I think resiliency is the ability to to take that bad thing that happened to you and look at it and say, okay, what's the way out here? I've got to get better. I've got to heal up. I got to deal with this pain right now. Got to help my family get through it. I think that's resiliency instead of, oh, poor me. I wonder why that happened to me.
well, I've always said like the best like mindset to have when it comes to like things like this is like never worry about things that are out of your control.
Yeah.
Or never like overly worry, because like I said, they're out of your control. Like there's really nothing you could do about it. Um, but I would say people like we're still able to like prepare, but not like in a like super paranoid like kind of way.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of things that people do to like prepare for like the unexpected and to have things in place to where, you know, if you were ever to need them or like need certain things, they're there for you, like life insurance, uh like safety nets. Um that way when, the unexpected does happen, and for most people it will at some point in their life, um, you're not consumed by not only the thing that happened, but also like what am I gonna do?
Yeah. The
And
plan in
that,
place. Yeah.
yeah, that part could be like somewhat at least taken care of. That's why there's things like I said, like life insurance. People will buy like like their cemetery plots like years in advance, which just sounds kind of morbid, but you know, that could really like take a burden off of, a family.
Yeah, definitely. I need to, I need to plan. I'm almost 60, so I'm going to be 58. So I need to start thinking about that. I don't
Yeah.
want, you don't want to.
Yeah. And I mean, there's also like proactive things people could do, like, regular like doctor checks and, you
Mhm.
know, even something small like, checking like your car, like making
Yeah.
sure, that your tires are good or, all these like like maintenance, not only to like your physical things, but like everything in your life can like prolong it and, make sure everything's like safe and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point, man. Because, when I was a truck driver, you have to do a walk around every morning. The paperwork that comes with being a truck driver, part of it is a walk around. You check your lights, you check your tires, you check your wiring, you check, say, make sure there's no leaks, everything you walk around. And that's a really good point, man.
And I bet you
Because
like most of those walkarounds, like everything ended up being fine, but
yeah,
it's still something that, you know, you kind of have to do, and it's smart to do because, it just takes that one time.
yeah. And I know a lot of truck drivers who are really conscientious about that. And I was one of them because, you're 85 feet long, 8 feet wide, 13 feet high, and weigh 40 tons. You're going 65 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour. You want to make sure that something like that is a machine like that is running properly. And but there's some truck drivers out there just lackadaisical as fuck. They wake up, get in the seat, check off that they did the walk around, start up and drive away. So I've always been pretty conscientious about my health, and to the point of, dude, I worry. I just having this discussion the other day with a friend of mine. And I said, I told him I worry that I'm being obsessive because my regiment every day is to wake up early, exercise, meditate, excuse me, meditate. I track my macros. I track what I eat. I try to get enough sleep. I track my water. I track my food. And although this takes a portion of my day, it still leads to the machine that I am operates pretty well for my age. And the doctors that I see and the blood work and all the stuff, they're like pretty amazed. They're like, you take really good care of yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but I still, in the back of my mind, I think, am I obsessing?
No, I mean, I think it just depends on like what like people's priorities are, you know,
Yeah. And I want to
or
live
like
a
their
healthy
outlook on
life.
life.
I definitely want to live a healthy life because I have been sick and I have been hurt, seriously hurt. And it's no fun to wake up and not be able to do, the simplest of things, like cook yourself breakfast. And I don't want to get to that fucking point again. So there is I I live my life, and I really don't say this to everyone, just my personal friends, my personal circle. And here I am saying it on a podcast. I want to live my life like a professional athlete. I want my body to do what I want it to do when I want it to do it. Like they cut me open. I think it was Thursday. Wednesday. It was Wednesday that I got that surgery, and the doctor, he was commenting about my physical health, and I said, so what about exercise tomorrow? As he stitched me up. I'm asking, can I exercise? And that's where it leads, the back of my mind is like, are you obsessed? Are you fucking idiot? You're getting surgery and you want to exercise. So, and he said, take it like you need to, judge, how you feel. And he goes, I'd rather you didn't do squats. And I said, okay. And I got up and I judged it. My wife was telling me not to do it, and I did it anyway. And I exercised on the next day after. And then I rested on Friday, and yesterday I went rock climbing. So there's this thing in the back of my head. It's like, if I can overcome this disease or this sickness or this soreness or this pain, I need to make my body do what I want it to do. And I think that's the way an athlete thinks. A professional football player plays through the pain. He plays through the breaks. He plays through the stitches, and that's my mindset, dude. And I think it's healthy. And I've never talked to a therapist or anything about it, but I think it's healthy. I know what pain, and I know the difference between soreness, and I know the difference between damaging pain, and I will stop when it's damaging. But if it's just soreness, that's part of my lifestyle. I'm sore all the time. I woke up this morning like fucking sore after that rock climb, dude. I haven't done that for a while, so it was a different kind of exercise.
No,
So
yeah, it's uh, like I said, it's all about like personal like perspective when it comes to that. Because I mean, we all make our life decisions, you know.
sure,
Um, and at the end of the day, we're kind of like the ones responsible for what we choose to do or not do. Um, so you know, it's kind of like those people that smoke heavy for like 30 years and then they get lung cancer.
yeah,
Um, it's like I'm sure, like in the back of their minds, like they knew it was a very strong possibility that eventually that's gonna happen to them.
yeah,
But at the same time, like that, like knowing that possible outcome wasn't enough to like sway their decisions, you know. like their
Yeah.
personal choices.
Yeah.
So, you can't really like a lot of people like to blame them, but at the same time, I don't know, it's like complicated for me
Yeah.
in
You
that
know what?
perspective.
You,
Like a lot of people say like, oh, you shouldn't even treat them like for lung cancer because they did it to themselves.
yeah, that's bullshit.
I don't agree with that either.
I don't
Like
either.
I understand like the sentiment and like the almost like resentment from people,
Yeah.
but um at the end of the day, like they're like sick.
I, I think, don't we all have that dual reaction to shit like that? Like the the person that's 100 pounds overweight or 150 pounds overweight, and they find out they have diabetes and they tell you, and you have that dual reaction of, well, yeah. And at the same time, you're like, oh man, that sucks for you. You had a chance, you had a way out and you didn't take it. But even if you didn't take the way out, Lalo, to blame these people and to say shit like you shouldn't even get insulin, it's your fucking fault. What are you talking about, asshole? That's People make their decisions, and it's not up to me to judge the person who smoked their whole life and gets lung cancer, or is super overweight and gets diabetes, or their knees go bad. But we do have those thoughts about, of course your knees are bad. If I had to stand up with 400 pounds on my back every day, my knees are going to go bad. But you can't be a dick about it. You can't do that. I mean, you can't, it's obvious that it was their fault. Like my health, my health level, it's obvious that it's my fault because I suffer every day because dude, I want to eat pizza. I want brownies and ice cream and fucking Dr. Pepper and all this stupid shit and hot dogs and hamburgers that I want. I want that, but I choose not to. So my health is my fault. And the person that's overweight, their health is their fault. But we can't hold each other accountable. It seems cruel to say something like, yeah, you had lung cancer, will suffer with it, motherfucker. You smoked. How cruel is that?
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, that comes from a place of like, um, I don't know, like selfishness.
Yeah.
Because it's like that same mentality is like applied in a lot of other scenarios.
Yeah.
Um, just like with any issue that involves like anything that benefits someone besides you. I think a lot of people become selfish in those regards because they're not receiving the benefit.
Right.
Um, and you see that a lot in like health, like the health, department, like even like the whole, like student loan forgiveness. You see the whole, I paid off my loans, or why do they get a break? They made the choice to take out those loans, and it's the same like way of thinking, it's the same line of thinking,
Yeah.
um in these
And
other
Andy
scenarios.
has, Andy Feaster.
No.
He's a therapist. He works at the county. He has the absolute most perfect way of talking about that. He said people are terrified that someone else is going to get something. And that's basically it. It's like, well, I paid off my loans. Why is that person? Well, the thing is, when you're talking about you worked your way through school and you paid off your loans and you did that, and that's wonderful. Everybody should fucking be really impressed by that. But let's take a look at my wife, who went through school, was poverty stricken, and was trying to get out of school, got married, had a baby, dropped out of school, went back to school, got her master's degree, ended up with $100,000 in debt. Well, she had a different life than the guy that's over here or the girl that's over here that's worked their way through school. Nothing really bad happened, and they paid their debt off. So we have two different lives here. Yes, my wife made choices, and yes, you made choices, and it turned out different in the end. But why are you holding people accountable? It's like if she accrued $100,000 in debt, she needs to pay that off. It's like you're just afraid someone's going to get something. That's basically it. And why are you afraid of it? Why are you afraid of welfare and food stamps and all these things that people need? Because maybe they did make poor life choices, but who gives a shit? That's that's just the way life is. Um, it's sad that we can't be happy for people. Are you signed up to get
For
your loans
oh,
taken
I
care
don't
of?
have any student loans.
Well, fuck you, Lalo.
But see, that's the thing. Like, I don't have any. And if I do ever get any, um, like it'll be long past the like forgiveness like window. Like that's happening
Right.
right now.
Well, that's because you deserve it.
So if I don't, like, the only time I could see myself getting, because I want to go for like my master, so that's the when I could see myself like needing loans.
Yeah.
Because right now, like during my undergrad, like the financial aid and everything like covers most of it. I think every semester out of pocket I have to pay like $200. So
Well,
well, that might change actually down like in the next time I apply, but regardless, like it's not to the point where I have to take out loans.
yeah.
But I'm still like a huge advocate for like student loan forgiveness because I do understand that everybody's uh like scenario is different. Like
Yeah.
you just explained.
But you're a beautiful human being for thinking like that, dude. Seriously. No, I'm not. No, no bullshit. That's a beautiful way to look at life. It's like, I don't personally need it. Somebody might, you know, that's like holding back, a prosthetic limb from somebody who lost their limb in a motorcycle accident. It's like they were riding the fucking motorcycle. Fuck them, you know?
Yeah, and I think a lot of this like rationalization that people have is um, like they equate someone getting assistance or help or anything with them with like something getting taken from them.
Yeah.
And that's not really how like things work. Um, like when you really like analyze it and look into it, like people getting their loans forgiven doesn't mean like, oh, you're gonna be like taxed more,
Yeah.
or uh, oh, they're raising the minimum wage. Like my Big Mac's gonna cost $15 now. It's like that's not how things like correlate.
But
Um,
that's how they're told that it correlates.
yeah,
If you go to school and you start to understand economics and business and all that, and you look into it, and you get somebody who is like you, who's going to explain how it works, that's fine. But usually we get somebody like Ron DeSantos, who's like, yeah, and it's their fault. See what happens if I give this guy 10 cents over here, uh, McDonald's has to have that 10 cents. They got to have that 10 cents back because
yeah,
that's
and
how
it's not like,
capitalism works.
and it's not even like one for one. Like a lot of people think like, um, oh, the minimum wage goes up $1, every food item's gonna go up $1.
Right.
Like that's not how it works. Um, I remember I read an article that examined like it was one of the pizza chains. I think it was like Papa John's or something. That what would the effect be on their prices if they raised like their wage to, I think it was like $15 or $20, um, and the result was like 17 cents like per pizza.
Yeah, that's fine, right?
So
I
like
mean,
17 cents per pizza for like thousands of them, for thousand in exchange for thousands of people like getting paid like somewhat decent.
well,
But that's like too radical for a lot of people.
But I ain't paying no 17 cents for a pizza. So you, I don't know, man. It's just this, what is it? E pluribus unum, out of the many, one. And we need to stop. We need to take that national motto down, because it's not the way we think anymore. It's not, we don't think for each other. We don't think as a cohesive group. It's always blaming and rationalizing that we can't help people. And it's so fucked up right now that if I give you $1, well, I have to raise my prices. Well, why don't you give me $1 and take a hit on your, $4 billion that you made last week or last year? But we can't do that. We have to continue to make more money, and that drives inflation and drives recession and drives prices up and wages down, stagnates everything. And I don't understand why we just can't say, okay, we need to take care of everybody here. And I think people think that since I'm gonna if I'm gonna help this person eat, what that's gonna do is that's gonna, the rationalization is what that's gonna do is that they're not gonna develop a work ethic. If I
Yeah,
give
and
you
that's the
money,
thing. I've heard that like I was even having that same like argument with my friend, one of my friends the other day, that because I think we were talking about that $22 an hour for like fast food thing that was going on in California,
yeah,
and I was like, oh, that's great, you know. And they're very like I wouldn't say Republican, but they're very like those talking points. Like they just,
right,
it's like they just completely buy into it, you know. Um, and he told me something along the lines of like, you must not be like you must be against like personal like growth and personal improvement if you want people to like work at McDonald's like all their lives, you know. And they see like these jobs like fast food, you know, like field work. They see all these jobs as like stepping stones, or like, oh, you know, that's for like high school kids. And
right.
that's like the dumbest fucking argument I've ever heard. The high
Yeah.
school kids one, like, oh, I didn't know McDonald's was closed 8 to 3 on the weekdays because it's only run by high school kids. Um, but anyways, uh, yeah, he told me like, oh, you know, you're preventing people from like, you know, growing and improving in their lives because you're like just giving them all this money working at McDonald's. And I told him like, if anything, it's the opposite. Like you're liberating people, you know, you're liberating people to fulfill their true potential. Because when, you know, they work, you know, they could start off working at McDonald's and, you know, make what was it, like 22 an hour. You know, that means that single mom doesn't have to like take a second job
Right,
to support her kid.
right.
And she could use that time to like uh, go to night school, you
And
know?
nurture her children.
Yeah. You know, go to night school, get her degree, you know, become like, you know, a nurse or whatever, you know, or you could take that extra money and like save up for a car. And that car is going to help you a lot when it comes to like transportation. And maybe you can find a better job that you wouldn't be able to get to before, but now you can because you got a car now.
Yeah,
And
well,
it's
maybe,
like
maybe.
that's what true like freedom is. Like people like work like slaving over 2 or 3 jobs to barely make ends meet. Um, that's not like freedom. You know, you're basically being chained down. Like you don't have time to improve yourself because you're so busy like just surviving month to month. And that's what people like a lot of people don't understand,
I
you know?
Yeah, I know, dude. In the past, I think people live too much in the past, and they base all their perceptions on what was going on 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And that's fine. 20 years ago, it when you worked a job like that, you didn't have to work 3 jobs to get by. because the economy was better and things were, gas wasn't $7 a fucking gallon and shit like that. And they take that time and they apply it to today and they say, well, if I pay you $22 an hour, that's just going to drive more prices up. And they have all these fucking arguments, and people like you come by and say, no, that's not how it works. And they don't listen to you. They will not listen to you. They will not change. They will not change their minds. It's always that person's fault. She shouldn't have had a baby. Shoulda, you shoulda. And well, we didn't. So I don't see what's wrong. Like you said, if I have to work 2 jobs to make $22 an hour, I'm work 80 hours a week. I'm constantly tired. I can't get ahead. I can't go to school. I can't do all the things that you're asking me to do. So pay me the money, let me get ahead, and I'll make it worth your while because I'll contribute more to society instead of just staying down here and doing my thing and driving this shitty car or taking a bus or walking or doing all the things, and I'll continue to take the blame that you're assigning to me. And I think we need more compassion, dude. I do.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like the I wouldn't say the easier, but the more accessible you make it for people to like succeed and come out on top, in life, like the more of those people you have, like the less people you'd have on like things like government assistance,
Mm-hmm.
and welfare and like food stamps. And the less you need those things, like the less taxes you would technically pay. So it's like this thing that kind of like, you know, comes back all the way around to you, where it does benefit you, even if it's like indirectly to like help other people.
Yeah.
But people just don't see it that way. They just see it as like a handout.
I had that mentality, man. I
I mean, I
suffered
get it. It's hard
greatly.
not to, because on surface level, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, that's what it looks
But
like.
but you can't ever just look at things just at surface level, because most things aren't like, you can't fully understand things just by looking at them at surface level, especially things that have to deal with like human beings, because we're so much more like complex than that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
is that duality thing again that we were talking about before with the health, where someone gets diabetes and you're like, yep. And so you go to the grocery store and you're in a hurry, and the person in front of you has 2 carts full of shit and they swipe their fucking food stamp card. You, as a human being growing up in this culture, you cannot help but your initial response is like, you motherfucker. And you have to rein that back in immediately. It's a healthy response. You rein it back in and you say, you know what? I don't know this person's situation. This person might be going home to a house full of disabled mom and dad, or, a disabled child, and their entire life is taken away because they have to take care of someone else. And I'll back that up immediately because I saw it the other day. My first response was like, oh man, this shit is so expensive. I'm spending $100 here and she's swiping a card. She's not paying for it. And then she said to the cashier, she goes, I shop for disabled people, and I'm taking this to an elderly couple. And immediately I was like, I'm an asshole. I'm an asshole. Because, and then when I was bagging my groceries at the end there at Food Max, I said to her, I said, thank you for taking care of people. And she goes, somebody has to do it. And I'm like, I truly appreciate you doing that, because those elderly people, they can't take care of themselves and they are on assistance, and that's fine. That's fine, Lalo.
yeah.
I'm being a dick when I judge people on the surface, like you said. I just look at the picture that I can see and go, oh, I'm judging you harshly.
No, yeah, I mean, like I said, I understand where that like mindset comes from, because that's like the that's like the easiest mindset to have because it doesn't really cost you anything
Yeah,
to
blame
like
the
judge
victim.
other people.
Blame the victim.
Uh, Whereas the opposite end, like it, it's hard to be, uh, I don't know, like compassionate or sympathetic, empathetic to people that to you might think that they're um, like better off than you in a sense, when in reality, like they're not.
Right.
Like that mom with the cart full of groceries paying with her EBT card, like, and you're over here like barely getting enough to your cart's like you have like 10 items in your cart
Yeah.
because you're just getting like your bare necessities. um like, yeah, on the surface level that looks like, oh, they're getting all this free shit and I'm over here like barely scraping by. But you have to also think about the fact that to qualify for those food stamps, like they're probably making a lot less money than you are.
Yeah.
And then you can also talk about like the qualification, like barriers and qualification that you need to meet to like qualify for these things, like the limits. But that's a different conversation. If you want to have it, like, that's fine. Like, you know um maybe they should raise it to where uh they should raise the income requirements to where more people would be able to get food assistance and stuff like that,
Yeah.
because there is a big like group of people that are kind of like in the middle. And that's not just with food assistance, but like healthcare stuff like that. Like, oh, I make too little to like, I don't make enough to afford it, but I don't make too little to where I qualify for these things. There's like tons of people in that like gray area.
Yeah.
um
Yeah. And we'll give it to you, and we'll give you health care, and it's only going to cost you $100 a month. It's like, I don't have $100 a month. Well, get a better job.
yeah, and it's like, it's not that simple. It's
Yeah.
not, first of all, it's not that easy, and it's not that simple, but people swear that it is, because especially the people that which is kind of sad in my eyes, but like the people that come from like shitty upbringings and they like make it, either like really big or even just like middle class. um I've seen that those people are always tend to be the ones that are like um more like resentful.
Yeah. Self-righteous about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, if I did it, like, why can't you do it?
Well, I'm a
But
self-righteous prick. I am. I can't.
yeah,
uh,
I mean, like I said, it's hard not to be. That's the easy thing to do. Like, that's the easy way to look at things and to be, because again, it doesn't really cost you anything to like judge other people. Because it's easy to do.
It costs you
uh,
your soul. It does, man. It does. It makes you a miserable, miserable, miserable person to be like that, because you judge everyone. Everyone is not as good as you, and everyone's not trying as hard as you, and yeah, I'm suffering more than everyone here. You go home and watch TV and eat free food that it's just that fucking shitty poison mentality that people have, instead of, how can I help? You know, and even if you can't help monetarily, you could smile or be kind to them. And that's what I've been working on all lately, all the time, is trying to change my attitude, because I'll be behind somebody. We're in a grocery store again. Sorry. We'll just stay in a grocery store today. I'll be behind somebody and my cart's filled with healthy food, and I look up and there's just like, all the stuff that I want to eat. And I'm like, you should take better care of yourself. In my mind, I'm thinking you should take better care of yourself. Well, that's your fucking choice. And I don't know how miserable your fucking life is. And that frozen pizza might be the best thing you had all week. And my life's pretty good. And I need to know that. I need to know I have a good family and healthy children and a good job, and all the things that I'm doing in life that are pleasant, that, yes, I've worked hard for, but you know what? Like we said in the beginning of the podcast, I'm lucky to have. because it could have gone the other way and we could have just switched places just as easily.
Yeah. And I mean, people like I said, they see themselves in a lot of these other people, so it's easy for them to say like, just do what I did.
Yeah.
But there's people that work their ass off their whole life, even harder than you did, and they never caught a break.
Yeah.
And then there's also people that didn't do shit their whole life, and they made it big.
Scratched a lottery ticket, you
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Not even just that, but like even just like, you can be born like in a good family, and you're set. You have all these connections, and you have all these ends to all these like places and sectors, and you know none of that was because of choices you made or things you had to do.
Yeah. Well,
So it
we
kind of
should,
goes both ways, and people don't like to look at those people because it doesn't they're not looking down at anybody.
right.
You
We
never
should
want to
bridge the
judge the,
gap,
the
though.
rich person.
You and I should bridge the gap because we didn't come from that wealth. We have had to work hard. We have had to go to school and do all the things that we do. When you're talking about somebody from a rich family, they don't, take take Donald Trump, and I've been really harsh on this man. I mean, he's an asshole in the worst kind of way. But I also know that Donald Trump probably never had to wipe the counter off after he fixed a sandwich. And you know why? Because he's never fixed himself a sandwich. He's never had to bend over and pick up things. He's never had to work. He's never had to struggle. He doesn't have the um, experience to be compassionate. He has no experience with that. And that runs a lot in the country club sector. They look down on everyone, but they don't have the experience of suffering. And on the conversely, the person over here, all the way on the other side of the spectrum, doesn't have the mentality to understand that they need to do something to work. Like when you talk to people about education and they're like, "Oh, I could never go to school. I can't afford it." And you're like, "Don't you know about the programs?" And they're like, "I never checked into it. I don't know anything about it." And you got people who don't understand, like uh, your kids in foster care. They have no idea of the safety net that they have. And when they don't have an idea of it, they fall on the sides of it. So you've got to understand that Donald Trump doesn't get it and the foster kid doesn't get it. And you and I, the compassionate, the empathetic, the educated, the ones who have drug ourselves up from poverty and the things that we've done, we need to bridge the gap between these people instead of blaming both of them. Donald Trump's an asshole and that homeless guy's an asshole. He's not trying and he's not helping. But they don't understand that they need to try and they don't understand that they need to help. So you and I are the bridge between them and we're not doing our job, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, see, when it comes to like that, like looking at that picture, I still tend to side with like the person at the bottom, just because the like Donald Trumps of the world and like the country club like rich kids and stuff like that. A lot of their like lack of compassion or lack of empathy comes from a lot of it comes from like ignorance.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas, the people at the bottom that, like the foster kids, like, yeah, like foster kids could technically they could all go to like, they could all get their doctorate, like completely paid for, like by the
Right.
state,
Right.
you know? Um, but at the same time, like you have to know that foster kids go through like so much shit, that by the time they're, 18 or like that college age, like they've been through like so much trauma, like who knows how many like foster homes they've been in, and
Right.
even just like being removed in the first place. That's very like traumatic, and that it's hard for them of that age to like, or of that mindset at that point to like focus like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to school and do all this stuff. And I mean, there is foster kids that do it. Like, don't get me wrong, I've seen more than a few that they take advantage of programs like that, and get their education, and overcome their adversity. But you have to realize that it's very hard to do because of the shit that they've already gone through.
Right.
It's like, here, let me I'll give you $2 million at the end of the race, but let me like shoot you in both legs first,
Exactly.
and then finish the race. Like, you have to go through a lot of shit to like reap those benefits. So for me, like, it's more understandable why like a lot of foster kids like end up in fucked up situations.
Right. And that's because you come from, on that spectrum, you come from an idea that's closer to them than it is to Donald Trump. So
Right.
you understand that side of it more. When you get the wealthy, and if they tend to go, well, I understand this side more. So I think it's ignorance on both parts. The foster kids, yeah, they're ignorant because they're not listening, but they're not listening for a reason. And we can come look at it psychologically with trauma and PTSD and removal. On the other side, it's ignorance also. It's almost like anti-trauma. They've never suffered, so they don't get it. They don't know. Why don't they just pull themselves up by their bootstraps? How many fucking times have you heard that, Lalo?
Yeah.
It's like, I can't pull myself up by my bootstraps, number one, because that saying came as it's irony. But you're looking at it like, I can help myself and I don't know how. And the foster kid just doesn't know how. And the rich person just doesn't know how to be empathetic. And like I said, there has to be a voice in between that's conscious enough, educated enough, empathetic on both sides to say, listen, we need to communicate and we need to come together. And we've seen it. They show us on the news. My wife and I call it the happy puppy portion of the news, when they're like, bombings and nuclear war and fucking famine and death and disease and COVID, and here's a puppy. And you're like, holy shit. So you and I and people like us in mental health, we need to be the ones to bridge the gap. And that's not saying we need to be, perfect, because I'm still standing in line saying it's your fault that your cart's full of shit and you're overweight. It's your fault that you got diabetes. And it's not. It's no more that the person's fault is than a car accident, dude. You just fall into these patterns that how do you escape? And massive failure, repeated failure leads to habits. It's like, I failed this diet, I failed that diet, I failed this one, I failed that one. And pretty soon, and I say this, it sounds facetious, but it's not, because I was talking to somebody the other day. He said he overheard an overweight person complaining that dating was so hard because they're overweight and she can't lose weight. And she said, and I quote, "Fuck it. You get what you see. I'm not trying anymore." So repeated failure leads to fuck it. So over here on this side, repeated failure, the kid's like, fuck it, I can't do this anymore. I've been kicked out of so many homes. And then it's just failure all the way around, dude. And we need to stop judging people. And I don't mean we need to stop judging people. I mean, we need to rein in our judgments and look at them like, immediately when I judge someone, I'm just instantaneously right on its heels. I'm trying my best to say, listen, Bobby, I don't know that person's story. Stop judging them. Stop it. My 600-pound life, there's, you didn't get to be 600 pounds like in 2 weeks. It's a lifetime of poor habits, and those need to be broken. So,
Yeah, and I would say that there is a lot of like personal like choice and personal decisions that go into like a lot of these things, you know?
yeah,
And I don't want to like come off as saying like, oh, like nothing's ever anybody's fault, you
right.
know? Because we do at the end of the day like make personal decisions. Um, but a lot of those decisions, like the part that people don't understand is a lot of those decisions come from like the environment like around you, you know?
Yeah,
So, and those are the things we can change, you know, like the system and like the systems in place. We can change that to the point where it guides people to making the best decisions for them, you know?
yeah. I see
So
what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, because we're talking about when I have two overweight parents with an overweight child, the child doesn't see anything else. When I have two poverty-stricken parents on food stamps and all they're teaching their child is to how to get on food stamps, that's an issue. And those are choices being made that the choice, there was no other choice in that person's head but to be overweight. And when you step into that, we have to stop saying, listen, you fucking Pav, there's a different way to look at this. That's how we're approaching it. Instead of saying, hey man, I want to show you something. I want to help you. They're suspicious of help because they failed so many fucking times. So we need to find a way to talk to people who are in these situations that we're discussing. We need to talk about it intelligently and kindly and empathetically, instead of saying, you're fat, you're going to die, you need to change. It's like, I understand that you've grown up in a household of poverty. I understand that your parents taught you how to get on welfare. I want to show you a different way, but without judging you. That's the secret to it.
yeah, and I mean that's like I say that's like the best approach is like changing like the things we can change, you know. You can't make someone else's decision for them, but
Right.
you can change like the environment and the system that people, you know, live in to where, you know, the best option for them is also the like the easiest option, you know.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I want to, you know, lose weight, so, you know, it's a good thing that healthy food's not that expensive anymore, so I could buy it, you know.
Right.
I don't have to go for the dollar menu at McDonald's because I could buy, you know, all this food for the same price and, you know, eat a lot healthier.
I need a
Or
lot of
even, you
help.
know, I can buy groceries now because, you know, like there's a grocery store in my neighborhood. I'm not just surrounded by like fast food chains.
Yeah, that.
So like all these things that we can change and we can control um, really do shape like the choices that we make, you know?
Mhm.
So it's not just all like on the individual. Like at the end of the day, like if you look at it like in a micro sense, yeah, sure, it's on the individual. But when you like zoom out and look at it in like in a macro sense, like there's way more to it than people think, you know?
Yeah. What do you think the problem is in Kern County when we have, like, on average, every state has 39% of their population overweight or obese. In Kern County, 78%, double the national rate, is overweight or obese. What is the fucking problem here?
Um,
Yeah.
Wait, say that again?
Nationally, we can say it's 39%. In Kern
Hmm.
County alone, it's doubled. Kern County, they release the stats on kerncounty.gov.org. 78% of the population of Kern County is overweight or obese. What is the problem here?
Like here specifically in Kern
Yeah,
County?
what is the problem here in Kern County? That seems
Um,
that seems like, I don't know. That's
Excessive.
unbelievable. That's an unbelievable amount of people. Only 22% of the people are considered height weight proportionate in this county. What's the problem?
Um, well, I wonder how much of that, because I know like there's a lot of like discrepancies when it comes to like the whole like BMI concept.
Right.
Um, like you can have like you could be like a really good like you could be like a big just like a big dude like an athlete type body and be considered like overweight just because you have like a lot of like muscle mass and stuff, you know.
Right.
Um, but I mean, I still don't think that accounts for like being almost double, you know. It's not like Kern County's full of like just super buff people like that are technically overweight, you know?
Well, when I go out into public, I can guarantee you that it's not super buff population here, you know. But there's a lot of fast food here. The grocery stores are only in affluent neighborhoods. Because if you go over to Martin Luther King, there's no Food Max or anything over there. There's nothing over there. There's just the little corner
There's
market,
like liquor stores and
liquor stores. Yeah.
yeah.
So that you're right. There is a huge problem with the placement of grocery stores. There's a huge problem with the taxing people on their property taxes and then applying that to the schools in that area. That it just seems the system is so broken, and I don't know, Lalo, anymore what to do. I'm trying to be proactive. I'm trying to be an activist. I'm trying to help people. Like I said, in November, I'm starting a new podcast for holistic health with a gym owner here in town, and I don't know, man. The closer I get, and the more I talk to you, and it just seems like you're dragging me down, bro. No, that's not
No, I
true.
mean
It's just,
it's very easy to become like cynical and like
yeah,
pessimistic.
it is.
Um, because I mean I've been there, like I've been to the point where it's like there's like no hope, like we're never gonna like solve these issues type of
Right,
thing.
right.
Um, but at the same time, like you have to remember that like you're just one person, you know? Like you're not meant to like solve everything. And I think one of the best things we can do is just kind of um like you said, like just advocate, you know, and like talk to people, even if it's like just the people like around you, like your friends and family,
Yeah,
because that's how you like by changing people's minds, like even if it's slowly, that's how you're able to like create bigger and bigger waves, you know?
yeah. I guess it's that mentality that Americans have. I have it too. Like, gotta if it's not changing within 15 minutes, I don't have time for it anymore. It has to change now. If my coffee's not ready in 8 minutes, I am fucking pissed off, you know?
Yeah.
So that's that's something I'm working on. And I think it's true. I think if people like you and I continue to work on ourselves, our health, our holistic health, our mental health, our attitudes towards other people, our judgmental ways, if we become self-aware and try to become better people, I think that shines a light in the group that we are in. And the people that are in our group are in other groups. So if we can change one person, we can take that change. We're actually projecting that change into another demographic. So I think just concentrating on changing ourselves changes the world. It really does.
Yeah. And
I
like I
want to
said,
be
it's
a
one of those things where
I
we're
want to be a
just
light.
like we're just an individual person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's hard to like if you put like all that pressure on yourself and all that weight like on one's shoulders, like you'll get fucked up pretty fast.
Yeah, it's a
And that
balancing
comes in
act.
like not just in this specific case, but like in anything
Hmm.
like in your life. Like if you put all your worries like on yourself, and everything bad that's going on, put it on yourself, and you know, try to make it your responsibility, like you're gonna go crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I think mental health is probably the most important health. And I don't mean accepting your flaws and being okay with them. I mean like looking at yourself and saying, okay, I need to change and how can I do it? And how can I be a better person? And how can I be a light in the room instead of a drag? Instead of looking at the person in front of me and seeing they're fucked up and looking at the cashier and rolling my eyes like making the hey, let's secretly judge this person. Let's stop doing that. Let's be kind and let's say, hey, thank you for doing what you do. And we send I sent that woman away thinking that she's doing a good thing, because I know the only reason she said that she's helping another person is to ward off perceived judgment. This isn't for me. I'm doing it for somebody else. So she wards off that perceived judgment that she has, that she thinks we're judging her for swiping her card with 2 shopping carts. And there's this whole there's an undercurrent of judgment and hate and just, we're so we treat each other so terribly now. And if I can stop that in my circle, I think you're right. That circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I may not see it in my lifetime, and my kids might not see it in a lifetime, but 30 or 40 years from now, what I'm doing today may reverberate through our culture. And that's the way we have to think about it. Instead of thinking it's too big for me to take care of, this yard is full of weeds and I can't possibly pick all these weeds. I'm going to pick this one. And that one's not going to be able to reseed. So maybe some good things will happen from that.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good plan.
That's like a good way to look at it,
Yep. And Lalo, I must thank you for today. I appreciate you, man. I need to go. I'm on my way to LA because the movie I was in premieres today at Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I actually work today too, like a little bit later. So.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, like at 11:30. Just gotta go check on some people.
Well, while you're working and slaving, I'm going to go watch myself on the big screen.
Must be nice.
You know what? I worked for it, man. No, I got lucky. And today I'm going to see some fruits of my luck and some fruits of my labor, and my son's going to be there. And I think it's going to be cool to see myself in makeup acting like a zombie in a movie in front of a whole crowd of people. So I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good. Let me know how it comes out. You haven't seen it, right? Like the final.
No.
This is the first time.
This is my first time. The only thing I've seen is my characters in the trailer. So the trailer for the movie, I'm featured prominently in it, and I know I'm in at least 2 or 3 good scenes in this movie. So I'm nervous and proud and like excited and terrified, like, oh fuck, man, that's me up there and people are looking at me. So that's going to be cool. It's a new experience, and I'll tell you how it turns out, man.
Sounds good.
All right, so go be kind to somebody today. You will. You're getting paid for it. And tell those people that they just need to fucking just pull themselves up by their bootstraps and get a job. All right. Have a good day, man. Or have a good week. Man. Talk to you next week.
Yeah.
All right. This has been the Thoroughly Wrong Project. And this has been Bob.
And Lalo.
And my friend Lalo. And I'll see you next week, man. Later.
Later, man.
You have now experienced the Thoroughly Wrong Project with your podcast hosts, Lalo and Bob. We can now be found on Pandora Radio, Apple Podcasts, Podium Podcast, or by searching The Thoroughly Wrong Project to locate our YouTube channel. You can contact us directly by email at thoroughly.wrong@gmail.com or just leave a comment on any of our platforms. Until next time, thanks for spending your valuable time with us, and remember, always speak up and never be afraid to be thoroughly wrong.